Good morning, Mr. Earl. Are you able to?
Yes, I am.
All right. We are here today in Pasco Municipal Court. This matter is set for a remote hearing today. Mr. Earl is appearing via Zoom remotely. Mr. Rio is in the courtroom as well. And Mr. Guillermo Davila, are you present? Go ahead and come to the table up here, Mr. Davila. Good morning. And what are we doing today, gentlemen?
Your Honor, it's my understanding from where we're at that we are ready to proceed to trial on Wednesday. Had some difficulty having contact with my client as he has not had a phone. But last we had spoken, that was the plan to indicate. He indicated to me.
All right, and currently I received information from Franklin County Superior Court Clerk's office that processes all of the juror summons, that they have not been processing juror summons. So there are no jurors who have been summoned for any jury trials. They anticipate they won't be doing any until possibly December or most likely January. I have not heard an update from the Superior Court Clerk's office as of yet.
I understand.
Mr. Rio? You have any input? Currently, the Franklin County Superior Court, who processes the summons for Franklin County to call in a panel for jurors, which include jurors for Pasco Municipal Court, they are not processing summons or summoning any jurors in for a panel for possible selection.
That's what I've heard in Benton County as well. They don't have the ability to do a jury trial. And they don't usually do this sort of thing on the record, but since Mr. Earl's here, I am willing to do, because of that, I am willing to amend this to no valid operator's license in second degree with penalty of $550 if they want to take that. Otherwise, we can pick a day out to pick jury dates.
All right, that might require you to speak to Mr. Davila, Mr. Earl, before you actually make that determination. So do you want to reset this for another hearing to discuss that amended offer of reducing this criminal charge to the infraction?
Yeah, I think we better do that, Your Honor, and see if we can work that out. What date were you thinking that this would be pushed out to?
Well, let me see here. I do have Mr. Davila in the courtroom today. We could have him provide him with a remote access as well, and he could go into a private room and discuss this with you before you leave today, if that's something you.
That would, yes,
like
if that could be accommodated, that would be great.
All right, so I do have a portable, let's get that from the office, the iPad. Or we can take him down to the room, yes. All right, all right. So let's do that. We're gonna have a clerk take Mr. Davila down to the room where the iPad is located, and then Mr. Kelso will place each of you into a breakout room to give you an opportunity to discuss the case. You will have to send Mr. Kelso a chat message saying that you're ready to come back to court when you've finished discussing this case with Mr. Davila. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Davila, I think that did Mr. Redfield, did Mr. Green just head down to the room?
Your Honor?
Yes.
Someone's going to have to get the tablet.
It's actually in, I think it's in there already. It's mounted already in the room. All right.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Real quickly, I couldn't quite hear Mr. Rio. He was suggesting changing this to what infraction?
to an infraction of driving without a license with identification, NVOL in the second degree.
Second degree, okay.
Penalty is $550.
And with a penalty of no jail time and a $550.
Okay. Okay, perfect. All right, thank you.
All right, so logistically, we're gonna place you back out. Can you move him back to the waiting room? And then we'll move you into a breakout room. All right. And then, Mr. Davila, if you would go back down the hallway like you're going to leave the building, there's a place called, there's a sign that says work release, work crew, excuse me. Go through that door, and at the end of that hallway is another office. It'll have a iPad in there for you to be able to contact and speak to your attorney, Mr. Earl, okay? Once you've finished, then you can return to the courtroom here, and we'll get Mr. Earl back on the line and determine how we're going to proceed. Okay? All right.
Your Honor, if you're speaking, you're muted. I don't know if you were speaking to me.
Set this Mr. Kildall's case to August 31, 2020. Same conditions as the other case. I'll provide you with a copy of these conditions of release. That'll conclude your hearing today. You can have a seat.
I told the victim that I requested, she said she already did it. No contact will be terminated.
We're not addressing that today. It has to be set for a hearing.
So you didn't know that window.
She's already submitted a request, so, yeah.
I calculated, was it $2,000 in total probation and everything?
Yes. Mr. Earl, give me a moment while we finish a couple of these other cases, please.
No problem. Thank you.
Mikhail Barbarosh. Mr. Barbarosh, you're here today on a charge of unlawful possession of drug paraphernalia. That is a misdemeanor. If convicted, you do face up to 90 days in jail and a $1,000 fine. There is a mandatory minimum sentence of 1 day in jail. You understand that? You do have a number of constitutional rights that were played before court started. Were you able to hear and understand those rights? Do you have any questions about those rights? You have had a chance to talk to Mr. Huey regarding this case. After doing so, you've handed forward this statement of defendant on plea of guilty. There is a signature on this document as well as some initials. Did you place this signature and initials? And is that to signify that Mr. Huey has reviewed this document with you and that you understand it? There is a recommendation for some jail time, a fine, and costs. You understand that I'm not required to follow that recommendation. If you plead guilty today, you do face up to 90 days in jail. Other than this recommendation, has anybody made any promises or threats to get you to plead guilty? Are you doing this voluntarily? To the charge of unlawful possession of drug paraphernalia, a crime which was committed on or about February 10th, 2020 in the city of Pasco, how do you plead, sir? Guilty or not guilty? Your statement is that on or about that date. I'm going to just clarify this. It looks like it says the Mr. Rio in the body or the affidavit of probable cause, it says February 6th. On the front of the citation, it says February 10th on Mr. Barbarosh. Are we amending to?
Let's do February 6th, please. I think the on or about covers all of that.
All right.
But we can amend these.
So on or about February 6, 2020 in Pasco, Washington, I was in possession of needles used to ingest illegal drugs. Is that a correct statement? I'll accept your plea of guilty. Incorporate the affidavit of probable cause, find sufficient facts to support a plea of guilty in this case. Is there anything you'd like to say regarding sentencing, Mr. Barbarosh? Are you working, sir? When was the last time you did work? Pardon me? That's what I'm asking.
About a year ago.
How do you support yourself? Find that you meet the statutory definition of indigence. I'll not impose any fines or costs. 3 days in jail with no days suspended. Is there any credit for Mr. Barbarosh? Credit for 1 day already served, which leaves a balance of 2 days. The paraphernalia will be forfeit. Give you copies of your documents today. This will conclude your case. You can have a seat. Mr. Fernandez, Flores Polito, if you'll stand where you are. You're here today on a couple of probation violations. One cause number ending in 733, the other cause number ending in 455. In each of those, I don't see the recommendation for the second probation case.
Go to the recommendation on the matter ending in 733 is 5 days in jail. Continued probation.
All right. And Mr. Flores Polito, in one cause number, you indicated you're admitting the violations of failing to report and having a subsequent conviction. And the other one is failing to report and having a subsequent conviction as well. You have had a chance to talk to Mr. Huey about that. After doing so, he's indicated you wish to admit those violations. Is that correct? Where were you incarcerated? Well, you have it looks like in Franklin County Superior Court, you have a February attempting to elude and a 2018 attempting to elude. Are you saying those are the same? All right. Did you just finish a sentence over there in Benton County? Or are you still being held over there? Okay. And so now you just have the Franklin County cases? All right. How'd you arrive here today? Yesterday? How'd you get here? Okay. On cause number ending in 455, I'll accept the recommendation, 15 days in jail. You are maintained on probation. That means you need to report, stay in compliance. This covers both the charges that encompass the attempting to elude charges from February of this year, as well as any possible no contact order violations that are pending. We do have a report date of August 26, 2020 at 2:30. You may not be. Does Mr. Flores Polito have any credit at all?
In case I need a 550, Your Honor, on the other case you got,
Case number ending in 733.
yes, 5 days prior to that.
Thank you. On cause numbers ending in 733, you are maintained on probation. I'll accept the recommendation. This does encompass the violation reports of December 27th, 2019 and March 5th, 2020, as well as Benton County cause number J19Y 06342. Pose 5 days, give you credit for 5 days on that matter. So you've served your time on that. Did our probation clerk leave already? Because he has 15 days to do. He's not going to be out on the 26th to make a phone in or Zoom.
You can give her any appointment?
Yes. You understand you're still on probation, Mr. Flores Polito, and you are required to report to probation. All right.
Oh, 15 days total, Your Honor, you said?
Yes, on cause number ending in 455, 15 days. There's no credit. Yeah. What are you getting a new?
The last time I had was September 1st, anything further than that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I need a date after 15 days out. For 12 days. I have on September 1st here. Okay, I know. No, for 2 more than, it's gonna serve 15 days. Thank you. September 22nd at 1:30.
Your new appointment to check in and report is September 22nd at 1:30. Currently, that's done via the telephone, and then they will schedule subsequent meetings via Zoom. Okay? That's mine. Yes, thank you. All right, that concludes the in custody cases for this morning. We have left Mr. Davila's case. Mr. Earl, are you still present?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Your Honor, after consulting with my client, he would like to get another trial date and proceed towards trial.
All right.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear Mr. Earl.
Mr. Earl is indicating that Mr. Davila is rejecting the amendment to the infraction, wants to set this matter for another jury trial.
Just so the board's aware, I'll be adding a bail jumping charge when we do take seats. I'm also going to copy that to Mr. Earl, so there'll be an additional criminal charge after this case.
Very well.
And that's based on Mr. Davila failing to appear on February 17th for trial ready. I'm sorry, February 7th. My bad.
Which day was that? Sorry, I missed that.
February
February
7th.
I show February 7th as a Sunday. Is that wrong?
Let me take a look here.
It might be that the clerk's notes are off. It's a Friday
The 5th is a Friday is what I'm seeing.
in 2020.
It'd be February 2021, right?
No,
No, no,
he
no.
failed to appear.
Oh, my apologies. I misheard you completely. I apologize.
Yes, Mr. Rio has indicated that in addition to the driving license suspended third degree, that Mr. Davila failed to appear on February 7th, 2020 for a trial readiness hearing. He'll be adding a charge of bail jump pursuant to that failure to appear. We can do this a couple of different ways, Mr. Earl, with regard to setting a trial date. We do, pursuant to the Supreme Court order, have basically a tolling of speedy trial through September 21. We can set a trial within that, or September 2nd, excuse me. I was looking at today's date, the 21st. So we can set a trial date within November or December that fits within that time frame. And we would be able to determine at that time whether or not we're starting trials, or we can set it into January. What preference do you have?
Your Honor, my preference would be to set it into January to give us a better chance of going through. As you indicated earlier, with the less likelihood of jury summons even being sent out by December, I'd like to give us the best chance of moving forward. So if we could have a date in January, that would be my preference.
All right. And I will find good cause to set a jury trial in January. Mr. Rio, do you have a preference as to any days?
Sorry, Judge. My calendar doesn't go that far, so I have to pull it up on my computer just a second. Why don't we go January 20th with trial readiness on January 15th?
And Mr. Rio, could I impose upon you to prepare a document so that we can give that to Mr. Davila as well as forward to Mr. Earl? Mr. Davila, we will reset this case for a jury trial on January 20th with a trial readiness on January 15th. You have Mr. Earl's contact information? Yes? All right. Thank you, Mr. Rio. right, Mr. Davila, stay in touch with Mr. Earl so you can discuss this case with him and be prepared for that January. We'll give you this notice here today, and that'll conclude the hearing.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
All right,
Have a good
thank
day.
you, Mr. Earl. And I have these. Mr. Rio, if you could. All right, that concludes our hearings this morning.